Jamie Jackson, the Guardian's man in Manchester, had a little exclusive story this morning out of Old Trafford, and he joins us now. Good afternoon, Jamie.
Good afternoon, gents.
So it's around the manager, Ruben Amorim, and your sources tell you that whatever happens in the Europa League final, they still want him to stay. I suppose that the immediate thing when I read that piece was, well, is it as much about him not wanting to be there and maybe worrying about reputational damage going forward because he's not getting the help that he feels he deserves or the players that he needs?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously kind of what his comments after the West Ham defeat seems to suggest. I was in the room then when he sort of said, if it continues this way, then maybe we should give the space, I think was the word he used, to other persons, meaning his job, for someone else. But yeah, I mean, he's basically got one player in. I think it's Dorgu in January since he came in. Obviously, he coached Ugarte previously at Sporting. I mean, listen, my view is if you're a manager, I know he's called head coach, but if you're a head coach or a manager of a team, you have to be able to work with the players you inherit when you go in, because the clue's in the word managing, right? Yeah. You're managing what you've got, yeah? So I don't quite buy this whole thing about, it's the players and all the rest of it. Sure, there won't be some there that aren't that good and all the rest of it, but these are top, in theory, professional footballers paid a lot of money to be able to play either a wing-back system or a 4-2-3-1 or however you want to describe it. So, I do put some of this at Amorim's door. You've got to, why is he being paid the thick end of 10 million, a year to sort of come in and do what Ten Hag wasn't able to do, which is sort of get them playing fluid, attacking. There were 7 points off fourth position when Ten Hag was sacked. I mean, I haven't looked recently, but they're a galaxy away from fifth, which now gets you Champions League under Ruben Amorim. But yes, the story is that he's not going anywhere, even if there's a loss. There may well be a loss to your amazing Tottenham team, Paul, in the Europa League final. And he will get the summer, getting some, as we're discussing, some players, maybe 3, 4. Well, 5's probably a little bit optimistic, but yes, and then he's got a sort of core, if you like, and I suppose he hasn't really got any excuses.
There's something about that dressing room, Jamie, and it's been this way for some time. The fact that they could raise themselves to beat Man City in the Cup last year, the fact that they can raise themselves to beat Bilbao, the fact that when they play Chelsea on Friday or whatever, they raise themselves because the players think to themselves, we're playing Chelsea, we're as good as them or whatever. It's a mental issue for me. They've got good players.
And he basically said that the other day. It is very, very puzzling. I mean, it's a little bit of a black hole for sort of players and careers there, managerial careers as well, because, what you're saying is completely right, Andy. You get... I mean, listen, you can have an argument whether the La Liga's up to the sort of Premier League, or it's a different kind of league, but Anthony's doing very well. Scott McTominay has got Serie A Player of the Month. He may well be a Italian champion with Napoli. He's obviously been sold. Anthony's still a United player. But there is something very, very... It's like the Bermuda Triangle or something in that dressing room, as you say. It's just very, very odd what happens. But you'd like to think that Ruben Amorim was sort of breezy, optimistic. I know he's been quite dour or, sort of honest recently, but, he is a sort of glass half full gentleman, can sort of perk them all up. But it is very... I mean, again, I go back to this other thing. I've just, I think players... if you're top players, you sort it out yourself to a certain extent, don't you? You go out there, you sort of run the dressing room, as you're sort of alluding to there, Andy, and, you run the team. Of course, you need a manager, a head coach to sort of, govern overall. But, Ferguson, the great Ferguson teams, Mourinho's at Chelsea, we could go through them all. They all kind of run themselves to a certain extent. And maybe that's what it is. There isn't enough sort of, proper adult players there who can sort of take the lead and say, right, okay, we're going to sort this out. I mean, Maguire sort of said it recently, we didn't manage the transition well enough between Ten Hag and Amorim. I'm thinking, fair enough for saying it, Harry, but you're 31, you play for England in semi-finals, the World Cup and all the rest of it. Why did you not then?
I can think of plenty of other clubs who have less leaders in the dressing room, Jamie. I mean, players like Bruno Fernandes, been very vocal, has always fronted up. Harry Maguire, there's players like Luke Shaw, they're senior pros. I mean, there are teams that don't have those sorts of personalities or that sort of experience in the dressing room. So you think there are players there that could be doing that?
I mean, this is what I'm sort of saying, we're talking about. On the pitch, it doesn't seem to consistently translate into, right, we're going to get hold of this game. And obviously, you can lose the odd game and all the rest, of course. No team, but it's just, this has been going on basically since Ferguson left. It's sort of, 13 years, 12 years? It's kind of Groundhog Day all over again, to mix a couple of metaphors. And you just, those players you just mentioned there, definitely, Luke Shaw, scored in a Euro final for England. He's been around the block. He came through the whole Mourinho thing. He's battled hard, and especially to Old Trafford.
Yeah.
What we're talking about. So it is a bit of a puzzle. And I think Amorim himself is kind of baffled. Obviously, he would have looked at that squad, and that's kind of why he wanted to come in the summer originally and thought, this is not a great squad. But I think he's been staggered by what we're talking about, this sort of mental, let's call it flakiness, that he's found sort of depth or the sort of the severity of it.
Don't you feel that some of the players buckle under the weight of the name? It's a lot tougher playing for Manchester United than it is quite a lot of other teams. And every time a goal goes in against you, there's a mistake made. It's like, you can read the headlines. A bit like England against Iceland all those years ago. They can just imagine the sort of coating they're going to get. I think it weighs heavy. Yeah,
100%. And, they're human beings. I get that. But I suppose to a certain extent, this is where, when you're signing players at United, you have to identify an ability to be able to, deal with that. And I suppose maybe that's a little bit of an intangible sometimes. But if you look at their signings, how many established Premier League or sort of title winning in sort of one of the big leagues elsewhere players have they have bought some, but I don't think, it's very rare they get a top player at the top of his game. And, they spent a lot of money. I recently did the Glazers figures the last 20 years, and I think the transfer spend is, get ready for this, it's over 2.2 billion they've spent in 20 years, right? So, there's a lot of money there. It's a ridiculous amount of money. They recouped about 800 million of that. So there's been money there. But yeah, I go back to this, where has been the sort of, the sort of established heavyweight players that have been there, done that, and can handle basically what you've just said there, Paul. There has been the odd one, but, I think it is again. And this is why this summer, here we go again, it's going to be very interesting. Will they finally get it right under Ineos and, Ruben Amorim? I'm not so sure they will, but surely someone sometime, maybe about 400 years' time, is going to get it right.
Yeah, they're signing Kuna. Cuna's a wonderful player, but he also comes with flaws, and he's not really the ideal player for United, I don't think, but there we go.
Why is that? Because he gets
because they're a flaky club, and he's a flaky bloke. So, and if things go against him, he does sort of, we've seen how he reacts.
Ripping people's glasses off.
He is also a wonderful player. Yeah. They've got a habit, United, of conceding first early. It's a really strange thing. They've done it loads and loads of times this season. And that is something they need to cut out.
Then you do, and that's my point exactly, then you do feel the weight of expectation, not just in the stadium, but as I say, you start to see the headlines.
Yeah, I think I put this statistic in the West Ham game because it happened there as well. I think it's 16 times or something like that, or maybe even 22 times this season who conceded the first goal. It's just, it's just unbelievable. If you think about, I know it's going back a long time now, but it's the only way to compare it. If you think about what Old Trafford was under Ferguson, it's the complete opposite now. Yeah. Every team goes there, fancying their chances. And why would they not? Because, they are an average, the league table doesn't lie. We always say that. And I think it's fair enough. Those sort of 35, 36 games, they're down in 16th. And, that is terrible. I don't care, what the factors are. That is not great under Amorim. And it's, it's his responsibility, it's the players to sort of sort it out. But, this Europa League final, we're lucky enough to be covering it. Who knows what will happen? You just don't know what United, what Spurs will turn up.
No, it's a possible game to call.
Exactly. And for all the reasons we're talking about, I could see Spurs winning quite handsomely, or United, or it going to extra time. And that's because both sides are flaky, to use your word, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. Jamie, thanks very much, as always.
Cheers, thank you.
Of course, we'll bring that to you live, and we'll continue to build up to the final.
I feel like it's going to be 0-0, and then every penalty's missed.
Could be easily 3-all, 3-0 either way. Who knows? Finger in the wind job, really.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.